You're listening to Life Repair Recovery Talk Radio with Rick Thompson, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, welcome to Life Repair Recovery Talk Radio. I am your host, Rick Thompson. This show is about sobriety and recovery. Each week, we discuss a different topic relating to addiction with the aim that you can gain some insight, guidance, and hope from our discussions. We focus the show in 3 different segments. 1, the viewpoint of the families dealing with the family members suffering from alcoholism and addiction so they may assist them in obtaining treatment. 2, the psychological trauma and emotional damage alcoholics and addicts and their families experience. 3, the role of the insurance companies and associate providers and their part in the recovery process. Good evening and welcome to the broadcast. Tonight we have a very special guest in the studio and also a friend of mine, Al S. Hello, Al. Welcome to the broadcast. How are you?
Oh, thanks, Rick. Thanks for asking me to share.
Sure.
My sobriety, I got sober the day after President Kennedy got assassinated. It's November 22nd, 1963. So that means I've been sober over 52 years. I got sober at Salvation Army in Honolulu, Hawaii. The reason I was there is because I was wanted for like 18 felony counts in California, and so I had to get out of town.
Yes.
So me and my bottle of rum or bottle of wine jumped on a airplane, and 10 and a half hours later we were in Honolulu. Before that, I had been married, and I had a son, and the reason I married her is I needed somebody to help me to quit drinking. I bought a life membership to Vic Tanny's, and I figured that would do it, but that didn't do it. And then after that, I bought a 1957 Thunderbird, and I figured the car payments would be so high that I couldn't afford to drink, but they just repossessed the car because I never made a payment.
That's brilliant.
And so I figured
priorities.
My mom had all these magazines in the bathroom, true romance magazines, and I read that, and it talked about running into some woman. She straightened the guy's life up, and they ended up having a house with a 2-car garage, a picket fence, and rose garden, and a couple of kids, and members of the Balboa Yacht Club. And I figured that's what I need to do is get married.
That'll fix it.
So what I did, that lasted about 1.5 years. And she stood there asking me if I make a choice between this Thunderbird wine I was drinking, between that and her and my son David. And I said, well, I said, don't worry, I'm out of here. You're preventing me from doing the great things I could do in my life. I could go to night school and take Spanish, and take typing, and work overtime. And I ended up losing my job 2 weeks later because I had nobody to get me up to go to work, and nobody to make my lunch, and nobody to drive me to the bus stop. And so about a little bit later, I didn't have any money, but I remember this buddy of mine where he kept his checkbook, and his account was closed. So I reopened it for him, and 18 felony counts later, I took off to Hawaii. And that's where I lived there in a place called Samoan Village. I got a job there working as a bartender and a bouncer. And my room rent was $36 a month. And it came a time that I couldn't make the room rent. So I subleased part of my room to another guy. And the 2 of us got kicked out of it. And the reason they called it Samoan Village is the police had nicknamed it because Samoans were living down there. I mean, if you were to call a police to come down there, they wouldn't come down. But we got kicked out, so we moved over to the next village, which was Filipino Village, and that's called Filipinos live there. And this is right on Pearl Harbor. Right. And so there was a burnt out car. So Pete and I turned that car over, no cushions or anything. And he moved into the front, and I moved into the back. And it was underneath a mango tree, all these rotten mangoes. And so I'd get up in the morning and I had my little bottle of Triple Jack wine. I was drinking Triple Jack then because Thunderbird was $1 and Triple Jack was 85 cents.
Wow.
And so for 2 Triple Jacks, and for $2 I can get 2 Triple Jacks and a pack of Cools. But if I drank Thunderbird, I couldn't get no cigarettes.
Well, that's not going to work.
So,
that's not going to work. That's no fun. At all.
And so what happens is I couldn't take that outdoor living because there's no cushions in a burnout car. So the last job I got was babysitting for 2 bottles of wine a day. And she'd buy me cigarettes. And once in a while she'd bring home a bottle of Kamchatka vodka. And I took care of her kids. I was a live-in maid. And I cooked them breakfast, made sandwiches and made their post toasties in the morning and sandwiches the rest of the day, and I just kind of babysat them. And I did that for a couple of weeks, and then I got a letter saying that my son was adopted away from me because I hadn't contributed support of the child. And so the next thing that happened is President Kennedy got assassinated. And that really affected me because I don't know, it just affected me. And so I ended up calling Greater Council on Alcoholism. And how I remember is because it's a commercial shot by the rifleman. Remember the rifleman program?
Yes, I do.
Well, he shot it. He shot the phone number on the barn door. So I called it, and I went up and saw this guy. The guy's name was J.C. Martel. He was sober for 18 years at that time. And he asked me, he told me his story, and I started crying, and he gave me $1, and he said, "Look, are you any religion or anything?" I said, "Well, I was baptized a Catholic." He said, "Well, come on back, and I'll take you up to see a priest." So he gave me $1, and I was bus fare back to where I was babysitting, and back that night. And he took me to see this priest, and the priest come out with a pair of jeans, cut off jeans and go-aheads, and a T-shirt, and that thing they hang around their neck when they give absolution. And he gave me the 10 Commandments, and I violated them all. And so he said, gave me the 10 and 10. 10 Hail Marys and 10 Our Fathers, and said, "Go your way." And so and then he told me, "You can't go back and live with that woman." And so he put me in Salvation Army. He said, they have meetings there, 12-step meetings there, and there's a chance that you'll make it if you go there. And so I figured, I'll go there, and I can sign up, put my name on a list that I went to, where I could tell them I tried. Well, the first 2 meetings I went to, the guy who slept next to me led the meeting, and he read something saying, "You want what we have and are willing to go to any lengths to get it." I really didn't want what he had. I didn't want to move into the next bed. But the third meeting, there was some people from town came and put a meeting on for us, and this guy, his name was Bud Tuttleson. He pulled up with an almost new car. With the right-hand side of this car was his gal. It was so hot you cannot believe. And he got out, and she slid over, and he gave her a kiss, and she drove off with his almost new car. And he walked in, and he had this is in Peter Gunn and Richard Diamond time.
Right.
Remember those Continental clothes?
Oh, yeah.
He had his Continental clothes, and he walked in there, and had a sharp checkered blazer, a white shirt, and a Slim Jim tie. Hair and shoes, looking good. And so when he said, "If you decide you want what we have, and I'm willing to go to any lengths to get it," I wanted that girl, that car, and that sport coat. And I went up and gave him my sad story. And he tapped on my chest and said, you take care of your number one problem and everything will take care of itself. Well, I said, well, what's my number one problem? He says, your number one problem is to go to these 12-step meetings every day for the next 90 days. So I said, do I have to go every day? He said, well, how often did you drink? I said, okay, I'll go every day.
You got that figured out.
Yeah, and the first meeting I went to outside of Salvation Army, I ran into a guy who I was stationed with before, and I used to drink with before there in Hawaii. I was stationed in Hickam Air Force Base. And so he and I buddied around, and he took me to meetings, and I stayed at Salvation Army for 90 days. I just couldn't handle the streets. And when I got out of there, two people talked to me at the same time. I go into a blackout. So I got a sponsor, and he had me move in with him. And I stayed with him, and downstairs in his, he had a room downstairs from his house. And I stayed down there, and they didn't have a shower there. So I'd get up every morning, and when his wife Chizuko would go to work, they'd knock on my door, and I'd get up, and I'd take a shower, and we'd sit on the breakfast room table. He told me what the deal with drug addiction and alcoholism is. What it is an allergy of the body, an obsession of the mind. And what that means is when I'm not drinking and doing drugs, all I've done is handle the allergy. What I'm left with is the disease. And he says, Al, you know what the disease is? The disease is the mind. And do you know what the function of mind is? Function of mind is thinking. And so I figured, is this guy trying to tell me there's something wrong with the way I think? There can't be. I've thought this way all my life. And it was hard for me to believe there was a relationship between my thinking and me being in Salvation Army. Like you take one, you take a problem, mathematical problem, 1 and 1 and 1, draw a line, the answer's 3. Why is it? Because it adds up. That's the way it adds up.
That's right.
Now if you take the way I looked at God and the way I judged myself and the way I criticized and looked at the world around me, you draw a line there. And the answer to that is called Salvation Army. Why? Because that's the way it adds up. So if my life is in the toilet, the reason it's in the toilet is because that's the way it adds up. See, it's got something to do with my thinking. And so my thinking was the problem. And so I went to these 12-step meetings, and the reason I had to do that is I had to learn. It isn't that you quit. In other words, the thing is not to quit the way you think. Because when you say, I'm going to quit what I'm thinking, that means you're thinking about what you're going to quit. You follow me? So then you're thinking about that. But the thing of these 12-step meetings, you go along and you see new ways to think. I mean, I would see a guy happy and joyous and free, and he'd be saying how God worked in his life. There was this Japanese guy. I went back to the Catholic Church when I got sober, and there was this guy, and the Japanese guy that was sober a year in Anahuac, and he came back for rest and recuperation, and he said, and he thanked everybody at a meeting. He used to write letters I used to go to the Waikiki group on Sundays, and he would write letters to that group, and I mean it was like letters from God. I mean, it was so spiritual. And so when he came, he was coming for an R&R, rest and recuperation. And so what happens is that I was so caught up, I wanted to meet this guy. And so when the meeting was over, I went up and give him a quick catechism quiz. And he said, look, Al, he says, if you're a Catholic, that's fine. He says, but I'm not. He says, I'm a Buddhist. And so I just had like a spiritual awakening then, because I realized that, that God wasn't a Catholic, and not that I have anything against the Catholic religion, because I'm sure that, I'm sure it works for people. But what happens, it just opened, this is getting sober in the 60s, it opened up a whole new period, things to look at, because if you in the 12 steps, the second steps is that God would and could restore us to sanity. So that means that I have to find, if I want to be restored to sanity, I need to make some sort of a connection to higher power. And so, I did I went to a lot of different churches. I went to Religious Science Church. I went to, they were having these free Christian things going on. And then I went to those, and none of them worked. And then I ran into a book. A guy gave me a book, and it was written by the guy that wrote it. Was loaded on acid when he wrote it. And I remember, and the name of the book was called "Be Here Now." It was the first book I read that was a spiritual book, and "Be Here Now" by Ram Dass. And he said, he quoted a guy named Khrushchev in his book, and he said, "We cannot escape till we're a prisoner, till we realize we're a prisoner." And that flashed on me, because I had to realize that I am a prisoner of what? I'm a prisoner of my belief systems. I'm a prisoner of the way I think. And so I had to learn new ways to think. And so I just studied a lot of stuff. I went to meetings every night. I stayed active in a 12-step group up until today, 52 years later. And the reason I do that is because I want to stay sober. These recovery houses, you're out of there in 30 days, and you're not cured. They're not cured. They have to find something to support them the rest of their life. And that might sound like really harsh, but without that support, we're going to drink again, and we're going to start using drugs again. And I love drugs. I love Dexamil. It's a diet pill. This buddy of mine Bob Lohman was his name, and his wife was on a diet, and the doctor gave her diet pills. So what happened is we gave her donuts, and we took her diet pills.
That's cool. You gave her donuts, and you took her pills.
And,
wow.
It was a really funny thing happened. He and I went to. I had passed a bunch of checks, and this one girl I knew had stolen a check from General Electric, and so I was going to take it down to Tijuana to get reprints, but I didn't have any money. Mm-hmm. But this girl I know just got a new TV set, so me and another guy went over to the house to visit her, and when she left the room to go feed her baby or something, we ran off of her TV, and we took it to Tijuana for reprints. And strangely enough, I was talking at a meeting in El Monte, and who pops in for her first meeting? Her.
Uh-oh.
And I got to make amends to her. I got to do that. But this is, when I was sober 10 years, it's important to take all the steps. It's important to take all the steps. It was they think that we're going to you hear a rumor that we're going to get rid of our defects of character. We'll never get rid of our defects of character. They'll always be with us. If you double check and take a look, the step 7 says to relieve us of shortcomings. Now, shortcomings is my thinking. Like in the third step prayer, it says, relieve me of the bondage of self. That's my thinking. So, and that's what, see, thinking foregoes everything. It's like a train. There's an engine and there's cars behind it. Wherever that engine goes, those cars have to go. So, now, if you put my mind in thinking, and the engine the engine is my thinking, wherever that goes, my body goes. See, so that's why I need to be conscious of my thinking. Most, I started meditating when I was sober 10 years, and it was probably the reason I started meditating is because I was totally obsessed with drama, and you can always spot drama because it's not happening, and so the most challenging part is the resistance to meditation. It's the challenging part is the idea that my thinking is supposed to stop. There's so much propaganda about meditation that it scares people off. I teach meditation, and the type I teach is and the one I practice is Vipassana, is where you follow your breath. The guy who taught me how to meditate, his name was Shinzing Young. And he interviewed me before he meditated. He told me I had one of the most grossest minds I'd run into. And it is just a garden variety normal mind that is totally obsessed with what isn't happening. Totally obsessed with what's going to happen, all of that. And so all of that is a hindrance. It's a hindrance to being a happy life because we're being run by our mind. We're being run by our mind. But how I had to find that out, he told me to just sit up straight and put a candle in front of me and put a clock on the right and just watch that for 5 minutes. And just sit there and watch. You just hang out with that candle for 5 minutes and observe your breath. And that was it. And it started and it went on from there.
What do you think would be the most essential elements to being able to start meditating?
Well, essential elements is the desire to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a desire to meditate. It just has to, you have to. What I did is I read a bunch of stuff about these people that meditated, and about them that meditated, and that kind of inspired me, because I saw that these guys are their life's really working, and they had a certain clarity that I didn't have, and so that's why that desire, you got to have that desire.
Did you find yourself, like a lot of people do when they're newly sober, your mind would wander, and then you would try to bring your mind back into present time? Do you feel that getting into meditation, or that let me take a step back. You're sitting there and you're trying to bring your mind back into present time. Do you feel that would have brought you to the point where being so tired of having to do that activity of bringing your mind back to present time, that meditation would have enhanced your position to be in present moment versus letting your head just go somewhere else?
We're always here.
Well, yes.
We're always here.
We're always not there either.
There's nowhere to go. We're always here. But the thing is that we get confused with our head. We think number one, our head knows what it's talking about, and we live on our head. See, we don't know that unless you meditate. You got to be conscious. But I usually carry a rubber band on my wrist, but I gave it away to somebody because it's a centering device because it reminds me I'm here. And the important thing about a centering device, being here, is when, like, fear will come up. See? Well, fear will come up when you pop that rubber band and you take a look around and you see there's no lions, no tigers here to eat me. There's nothing happening right now that's going to get me. See? So what happens is that's like staying sober. See, I've been sober 52 years, over 2 years. I haven't stopped drinking, and I haven't stopped doing drugs. I just don't do it between now and bedtime. And that's it. And I learned to live. I learned to live in the moment between now and bedtime. I mean, Jesus was cool. He knew what was going on. He said, "Give us this day our daily bread." He didn't say, give us today our daily bread. I'll give you a couple of loaves a day next week. And after the week after that, we're going to back a truck up and give you all the bread you need. He said, no, I'm going to give you your daily bread today. So I have everything today. I'll go to bed at night and I'll remember that Lord's Prayer. It says, give us this day our daily bread. And I'll say, I will have everything I need between now and when I get up tomorrow morning. You know, and generally I sleep pretty restfully, but not all the time.
Okay. Do you meditate when you have had the experience of the cravings, and how do you process the cravings through meditation?
Okay. Cravings, let me tell you what. So you understand how it goes. See, what happens is that our defects of character, like craving alcohol, wanting to drink, is a defect of character. Gluttony is a defect of character. Lust is a defect of character. They have other ones also. You know, the 7 deadly sins. They're defects of character. They're used for relief. See, so if I'm craving alcohol, I'm the reason I'm craving alcohol. I'm looking is because I'm suffering. I'm suffering. Now, what caused me to suffer? My thinking. Now, what am I thinking that caused me to feel bad enough to where I'm going to want to drink? See, so I have to go back with that's why meditation is important. It's being conscious of what you think. You know, I don't crave alcohol at all, but you know, I have thoughts in my mind that come through that, you know, that I have to let them go. My mind is like a highway, like the 405. You got cars driving up and down. When I teach people how to meditate, I take them out. I have them stand on the street, and I'll say, now, let a car go by. There goes a Ford. There goes a Chevy. There goes a Pontiac. You know, there goes an Oldsmobile. And there goes a Bronco. And every one of these cars, you see the cars, but you don't identify with the cars. You know, you're not the cars. Well, the same thing is in our mind. Our thoughts, our mind is a highway that thoughts drive up and down, you know. And let's pretend like the thoughts are in the car. So I have a thought that comes, a car called financial insecurity driving by. And it says, oh, hop in. Why don't you go for a ride with me? You follow me?
Yeah.
And what happens is if I jump in that car and finance insecurity, what happens is a widescreen TV in that car with surround sound.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
And it plays, and what it does, it plays stuff. It'll play a spooky movie.
Very.
It'll play a spooky movie, and you'll feel bad. And you want to know why do I feel bad? Because you got in the dumb car. You understand? I got into the car, so I have to let the cars go by. I just observe them and let them go by. I have a pretty peaceful life. I have thoughts all the time are running in my head. Actually, probably when they cook me at the final time before they put me in the box, my head's going to say, hold on, there's one more thing I want to tell you. So,
right. Okay.
So does that make that clear? Because what causes craving is suffering.
Right. It's true.
Suffering causes craving. What causes suffering? Thinking. Step 7 says that. It says our defects of character are caused by self-centered fear. The fear they're not going to get what we want, we're going to lose what we got. So it's that thinking that causes that suffering, that causes wanting to drink. Because to drink is to get relief. Or your drugs. They got these new drugs on. I had my back operated on. They gave me oxycodone.
Ooh, that's bad news.
Yeah, I took it for about 5 days, you know. And the bad thing about it, you get constipated. But you know what? You sure feel good. You know, it's tempting to say, hey, I'm going to keep taking this because I feel good. But the thing is, it's a counterfeit feeling.
Right.
And it's
not
counterfeit.
Real. Right. It's a filter. Sure. I get that. Has meditated assisted you in the control of your life?
Yeah, well, it's meditation. See, meditation makes, what it does, it makes things clear. It makes things clear. In other words, I see things clearly because a Buddha said, if you see things, if you look at things without desire and without an opinion, he said, if you see things clearly, if you see it without opinions, you follow me? And so what happened? So how meditation helps me? It makes me conscious of my life. Makes me conscious of what I think. Like if I have a goal, it makes me conscious. How am I working slowly towards that goal? In other words, I'm conscious. You know, like because that's to be conscious. That's it. The Lord's Prayer talks about. It says at the end, it says, "Give us this day forgive us as let's see. It says, deliver us from evil. Lead us not in temptation, deliver us from evil. Mm-hmm. If it was to be said right, it would be deliver us from desire, because it'll take us to an evil place. You know, it'll take us to an evil place. And but I don't know if I made that clear.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Why do you think you started meditating in the first place?
What's the 11th step?
Okay.
It was part of the steps, and I did it because my sponsor told me to do it.
Okay, well, that's always good, following direction like that.
Yeah, just follow direction, and which you usually don't do, but I did. But I was really pain. I was in a lot of pain.
That's a great motivator for us, actually, pain. Yeah.
That's what I did.
When you meditate, does it give you a high euphoria?
No. It doesn't give me a high. I mean, when I meditate, I don't, I'll meditate, and one time I'll meditate and I'll get I'll get a really good feeling after I get finished meditating, and I'll meditate the next time and I won't get that.
Okay.
You won't get that. And you can't make the mistake to try to recapture something. Follow me? Because that's the mind talking.
Right.
That's the mind saying, why don't we meditate? That's a car going by. Hop in. Let's meditate like we used to, Mm-hmm. But so meditation teaches you one thing, is you get what you got. In other words, if you want to know what you're supposed to get, take a look, you got it.
Right.
And that's one of the things.
Okay. We'll be back in just a minute.
I would like to take a moment and talk to you about the Villa Treatment Center. Their integrated substance abuse and dual diagnoses program rests on foundational principles of personal responsibility, structure, and service. Whether you are at the beginning of your recovery journey or farther along the road, the Villa Treatment Center offers an individual plan to suit all of your recovery needs. Detoxification by doctors specializing in addiction medicine, residential treatment, transitional living, day treatment, and full care outpatient services are available. Please call 818-505-6900 for further information. That's 818-505-6900 and begin your recovery now. The website for Life Repair Recovery Talk Radio is www.latalkradio.com. Life Repair Recovery Talk Radio is on Channel 1. We are broadcasting live from our studios every Sunday at 6 p.m. West Coast time. All of our shows are archived on the www.latalkradio.com site and can be accessed 24/7. Our call number is 323-203-0815. That's 323-203-0815. And now back to our show.
And we're back. Al, is there anything that someone could have ever said to you in the beginning to change your using or your behavior
I'd like to correct one thing I said when I said lead us not to desire. It's not. That isn't it, because there's nothing wrong with desire. It says, lead us not in distraction.
Into temptation.
Because,
Right.
distraction, because it'll take us to not a nice place. You know. So what was your question again?
The question was, is there anything in the beginning that someone could have said to you or done to change your drinking?
Not at all. Nobody could say anything. I had to hit that bottom. And that, incidentally, I ought to say that son that was adopted away from me came back into my life when I was sober in 10 years. And we've been together ever since to get along.
That's
and since then I've got 3 boys and 8 grandchildren.
Wow.
I would never have any of that if it wasn't for staying sober.
Sure. Okay.
But nobody could have done anything.
Yeah, no one was talking to you.
Not a chance, man.
Not a chance.
I had to go to Salvation Army.
Yeah, that's an attention getter. Do you ever feel stuck? And if you do, does meditation get you out of it?
The Buddhist thing have a thing called impermanence. In other words, where everything changes. Like you put your foot in the river, and you take it out, and you put it in the river again. It's a different river. And so I'm never stuck. I just have to be curious. I just have to be curious to where I'm at, and never, nobody, like people. You can't live in the future because you're
not there.
Nobody knows what's going to happen.
Yep, it's true.
No, if they did, ask them for the winning lotto number for tomorrow.
Yeah, everybody would be rich. That's right.
Yeah, and you have to learn. I had to learn to live in uncertainty, and I had to learn to live on an island called question mark. And my life is moving, and it's moving at the rate it moves.
Right, as all of our lives are. I'm going to touch on 12 results of meditation, the way it affects our brains. 1, preserves brain health. 2, increased focused attention. 3, reduces anxiety and increased resilience to stress. 4, promotes learning and memory. 5, improves academic performance. 6, lessens our overthinking and rumination. 7, softens our obsessions, compulsions, worry, and fear. 8, enhances calm, compassion, and empathy. 9, improves perspective taking. 10, improves connections with others, i.e., improves social communication and social thinking. 11, enhances performance. 12, helps regulate and stabilize the mind. The research is solid. Meditation changes our brains and our children's brains for the better. Research also indicates it can positively affect our immune system and our organs in our body. Al, your thoughts on this?
On this?
Yeah.
Well, that's all academically stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is that.
Do you agree with any of it?
Sit up, huh?
Do you agree with any of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't disagree with it.
Okay.
All I know you got to do is sit up straight, observe your breath. That's it.
Okay. All right. We're going to take another break, and we'll be back in just a second.
I would like to take a moment and talk to you about the Villa Treatment Center. Their integrated substance abuse and dual diagnoses program rests on foundational principles of personal responsibility, structure, and service. Whether you are at the beginning of your recovery journey or farther along the road, the Villa Treatment Center offers an individual plan to suit all of your recovery needs. Detoxification by doctors specializing in addiction medicine, residential treatment, transitional living, day treatment, and full care outpatient services are available. Please call 818-505-6900 for further information. That's 818-505-6900 and begin your recovery now. The website for Life Repair Recovery Talk Radio is www.latalkradio.com. Life Repair Recovery Talk Radio is on Channel 1. We are broadcasting live from our studios every Sunday at 6 p.m. West Coast time. All of our shows are archived on the www.latalkradio.com site and can be accessed 24/7. Our call number is 323-203-0815. That's 323-203-0815. And now back to our show.
And we're back. Al, what would you say to all of the people who are alcoholics and drug addicts about adopting meditation into where they are at right now and about its positive benefits in staying clean and sober?
Well, I would say what you want to do is get up in the morning and set a clock up there, and maybe put a candle so you can have something to concentrate on, and do it for 5 minutes, and just do that continually for maybe a month at 5 minutes, and increase it 1 or 2 minutes, but don't chew it up really fast. The important thing isn't the length of time, it's the consistency. So, and what it'll do, it'll try it and see.
Okay. Yeah, because I've tried, and usually I tried when the rats were running real heavy. Never worked out well, and I could last for about, I don't know, 3 minutes, and then my head would go somewhere else, and it would be a really bad movie. And
but when your head goes somewhere else, what you do is you say, "Oh, look, my head was somewhere else," and come back.
Okay.
You understand? In other words, don't resist anything. What caused the thing you find out in meditation is you find out that resistance causes suffering. When my head, when I meditate, my mind will go way out, and I'll just, how about that? And I'll come back.
That's interesting.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. It does make sense to me, because I had always had a hard time doing that. It took me 18 years just to be able to be completely present in the moment without having to pull my head back anymore. And when that happened, that was a life changer for me, because I knew this thing was working. Now I knew it was working, because it's like when you walk into a room and you see newcomers. How do you notice it's a newcomer? Because their foot's moving, right? And they're all sitting there. Their feet are all moving. That one foot is always going back and forth. And after a while, that calms down. They don't do that anymore. And then you have to start dealing like I did. I tried to, when I would have an emotional moment, when I would start crying, and then all of a sudden a wall would go up and cut it off. It used to frustrate the hell out of me. And so I would meditate on that to try to trick myself into getting that emotion back up, and it never worked.
You know what I did?
What?
What happened is I had something really, a trauma happen in my life, and I was crying. And I'd stopped crying, and I knew I wasn't finished. I went and stood in front of a mirror. I said, "Don't stop, keep going." I stood in front of the mirror. I stopped, and what it does, it completely, I don't know whether it helped or not, but I did that. And I don't resist. See, I don't resist how I feel. If I want to know how I feel, I check it, and I don't judge it. I don't judge it how. And they put in one thing here I noticed about taking things personal. To take things personal is a defect of character. It is a defect of character. And generally, the reason people take things personally because their ego is so huge. They don't realize that, they don't realize the asset there is to being unimportant and the freedom. Because if you're not important, you can do what you want. You don't care who's following, because you're not important. You can do what you want.
Right.
But if you think you're important, you have to posture for people around you. And that posturing is not freedom.
No, that's doing time.
Right. The trick is to get free.
Yeah.
I think that's what the steps do. The steps, they set us free. And meditation sets us free. I think that's a real benefit. Yeah, the idea that we're free.
Do you teach meditation, right? Do you have seminars that you do?
Yeah, I teach it. Once in a while, I'll set a group up and I'll do it, and I charge $10, and I give the money to Friendly House.
Okay, which is the Women's Sober House, Women's Sober House, right? Friendly House. Do you have like a website or anything like that, or a phone number that someone could call and find out about the next seminar that you're going to do?
Well, you can give my phone number.
Okay.
It's 310-413-4898. And I'm there for you, and I'm there for everybody, okay? Because I love you guys.
This is a great show, and I'm really glad that we could get you on tonight.
Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, it's always good to see you.
It's fun.
Yeah. I would like to thank Al for sharing his experience and perception on the meditation and his story with us as well. We are at the end of this week's show, but we hope that you'll make sure to tune in next week for another hour of brutally honest recovery talk radio. Our mission is to provide a safe platform for those who are suffering from various forms of addiction. We're just people willing to listen and offer suggestions to help those in crises. And now we will leave you with the wisdom of the late, great John Flynn.
Disappointment. Disappointment is the caboose on the choo-choo train of expectation. Anything you want from anybody, you give them what you want from them. It's the only way you're going to get it. Life is about giving, not getting. Day at a time.
Thank you, John, and thank you for listening. Say goodnight, Al.
Good night, easy does it, and keep it on the road.
You're listening to Life Repair Recovery Talk Radio with Rick Thompson, only on LA Talk Radio.